Good afternoon. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Health. I think today is Thursday. Is today Wednesday? What day is today, Amaraja? I have lost my time. Today's Wednesday.
It is
Well, you know
Wednesday.
what? It actually is Thursday if you're coming in from overseas. And I know this is that we have so many people in the community that come in from as far away as Australia, the Netherlands, the UK, sometimes Mumbai, India. We are an international show and platform. And so, welcome to the studio, Amaraja. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jay. It's so nice to be here again.
When was it that you were in the studio last time? How long ago was that? You recall?
It seems like a lifetime ago, but it was probably only a few months ago.
It
Right?
probably was closer to the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's definitely more than a few months. Maybe it was early 2019, and so it's been some time. As we wait for some people to join us in the community, I want to thank those that join us live or on replay. Know that some of you think that if you show up late, that you got here late, and even on replay, we show up on time. It's our time, and we're not being judged when we show up. What's important is that we just do show up for ourselves in our own life. And so, good morning, Mary Kelly, my angel, who's joined us live, Pamela, Tina, as well. You may have some people that you recognize from your side of the community that are joining us live today. It is, in fact, just after 2 p.m. on the East Coast. It still is morning here in the West. And so thank you for joining us. This particular platform that I launched earlier this year, Real People, Real Health, is really for people to experience listening to stories of those that have opted out of traditional Western medicine, that perhaps were battling or suffering with chronic disease, and had found that they were running out of time and out of resources because there were no solutions for them or healing opportunities utilizing Western treatment. And I wanted to invite people to come forward that have their own story of self-healing, working with alternative holistic modalities, teachers and mentors, those that have come before them that perhaps have in fact healed or put into remission chronic diseases such as stage 1 through 4 cancer, autoimmune, and any other diseases, including all mental health disease, which counts as a disease in DSM-4. So I invited you back into the studio about a week or two ago because I've been following you so closely, Amaraja, on the work you do and how you show up every single day consistently, sharing your knowledge and your wealth and sharing it in a very, very open way into the community of Facebook to inspire others that getting healthy and changing the trajectory of your life is possible when you understand what is behind the root cause of disease and how we can in fact heal. And I thought that your message is so important and so valuable. I see you as an expert in the field of nutrition and health and wellness. And that's why we're here today. So welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. And I love sharing information, because I find that it's through our bodies, through our health, that's really how we take our power back. For so long, we've all given it away, myself included, but the more that we, step into things that are good for us, that are good for our bodies, good for our minds, good for our souls, the more the stronger we become. And that's just so important right now, to not get stuck in this system, to not be a slave to the system, to not be a victim. I'm all about being our own victor. I think that's so important. Saving ourselves because nobody else is going to do it.
Well, I have a sneaky suspicion that you didn't just wake up one day and you arrived. You didn't arrive on with a princess by your side, with a prince by your side, and with all the answers flowing. You had to hit some type of, let's say, low in your own life, your own experience, your own backstory that brought you to this moment, this pivotal moment in your own life. I'd like to invite you just to perhaps share just a few minutes and touch on how your life was that led up to you having a somewhat of an awakening and making some significant changes in your own life.
Yeah, for a long time, I chose to learn in a painful way. I was very hard headed, and honestly, like I thought it wouldn't happen to me, because I worked out, my body looked good, so I thought I'm healthy, I'm doing yoga, I'm working out, but what I was fueling my body with caused my body to decline and rapidly. But the thing is it wasn't just what I was fueling with, like in a physical way. Everything in my life was out of alignment, because we're whole beings. And so what I've found, just to kind of side note here, what I've found on this journey is that our body is a divine reflection of what's happening in our outer world. So my body was falling apart. My entire life was falling apart. I went into a doctor, expecting someone to save me and to give me a magic solution. And when I went in and expressed what was happening, like with all these crazy, seemingly unrelated symptoms, his only suggestion was that maybe I needed an antidepressant. And so, I went home and I went into complete victim mode, complete freak out mode. I went into a lot of fear, but then that fear turned into determination, because I chose and I decided that day that I would not be stuck in this system of prescription pills. I wasn't going to live my life suffering. And so that's when I started researching, and that's when I came across plant-based nutrition. And so those were the first steps I started taking, to really take my power back.
Now, for someone who may be on what is referred to the standard American diet, AKA the SAD diet, you may have just spoken a foreign language to them from the perspective of how is nutrition going to impact your state of mind, which your doctor felt perhaps an antidepressant would be the catalyst or the tool for you to feel better. How is plant-based food going to be the medicine for, let's say, for your state of mind?
Well, for the Western medical model, they didn't have something that encompassed all my symptoms, right? So to my doctor, he ran the basic tests that he had, and everything came back normal. So that meant that I was creating it all in my head, which that was far from the truth. Like I was actually really experiencing all these things, and he just was, didn't have an answer. So his solution was, okay, let's treat your mind. Well, even if it had been in my head, his solution is not a good one, because what is happening in our mind, it starts in our gut. Everything starts in our gut. So that's where nutrition comes in. So many of us, because of the standard American diet, our bodies are depleted of nutrients. We have leaky gut, we have depleted soils. Like there's just this whole perfect storm going on, medications, prescription medications, birth control pills, vaccinations, like all these different things that we're being bombarded with, and they add up. And like with each piece, it's a gradual decline. And that's really what happened to me. And so taking my power back meant nourishing my body in a way that I'd never done, because the bulk of my diet consisted of, I ate a lot of meat and a lot of processed foods. On occasion, I might have some potatoes, French fries, more like it, maybe some broccoli here and there, maybe some iceberg lettuce, with some tomatoes and cucumbers. But that was the bulk of what I ate. And that
what does processed foods mean to you? Again, I'm asking you this because I know what it means, but there's a lot of people that if they're not in the space of understanding how nutrition impacts our overall well-being, we may not even be aware. We may hear the buzzword processed foods, but what does that really mean? What does a processed food mean?
A processed food, for me in particular, refined carbohydrates. So you're looking at pastas, white breads, any packaged food, anything pretty much that comes in a package. Because the thing is our bodies run off enzymes. We need enzymes for every single process. But once a food has been processed, it is completely void of any enzymes. They may go back in and add some nutrients back in, like fortify a food, but it's not the same as the original nutrients. And you're definitely not getting any enzymes. So basically, you're using these packaged foods to fill your body, right? And then oftentimes it's like this, it's this ugly cycle, especially for people who struggle with weight issues, because what happens is you're feeding yourself these processed foods, that probably have MSG that, cause all types of other issues, including excessive hunger and cravings. But what's happening is you're not putting nutrients in your body. And when you're not putting nutrients in your body's sending signals telling you that you're still hungry because it's not getting what it needs. So it's like this toxic cycle on so many levels.
So, for example, one of the belief systems that I had, I used to be a big fan at shopping at Trader Joe's. And I don't shop at Trader Joe's anymore because what I began to see was so much of the food that I enjoyed from Trader Joe's came from a box. Now, even those people that we believe sometimes we're eating healthy because we identify that we've become a vegan or we are vegetarian, but we're still not quite there yet because we're now buying boxed food, frozen in the refrigeration section, in the frozen section at Trader Joe's, even at Sprouts, even at Whole Foods, that the label says vegan, the label says vegetarian. It may even say GF, gluten-free. But when you look at the ingredients of what is in that box, it's riddled with additives. It's riddled with natural flavors. We think natural flavors. I thought, oh, that means it's healthy, because the word natural sounds healthy. Well, we understand that natural flavors does not mean it's healthy. It's undisclosed products that they're putting in the food to flavor the food. And if you don't understand what a product is in the label, it's a chemical. It's usually a food additive and a food preservative so that the food has a longer shelf life. Right?
Yep.
Am I doing okay so far, Coach?
Oh, yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. Marketing is deceptive, right?
Oh, big time. So a lot of people, I used to look at before I understood nutrition, let's say 2015, I knew a lot of vegetarians, enough vegetarians that I had met in my lifetime, and a lot of them didn't look that healthy. And I never understood why. I don't understand, if you're eating vegetables and fruit, why do you not look healthy? And now I have a better understanding why we don't have to be, just because you say you think you're eating healthy because you're vegan or you're vegetarian, or you think you're eating healthy because you're keto or because you're paleo. It doesn't mean that you're healthy. If you're buying food in a box and then you add insult to injury, take it home because it says it's microwavable. Now you throw it in a microwave. Now you're eating dead food that's been killed, even worse, before it was put in a microwave. You are getting, like, your nutrient levels value is so low. You're basically eating dead food. You're getting, I don't know what the percentage of the nutrients go from to, but it's very, very low. And so just because we think we're eating healthy or we have a healthy diet, I have a client of mine that suffers with, he says, significant allergies. And now he looks fit. This guy he's very fit. I mean, he's in great shape. He's probably in his 30s. He looks really healthy, but he suffers with seasonal allergies. And he says this is really bad right now. And he says he's on all the pharmaceuticals over the counter and on the counter and under the counter, and he still feels like crap. And I asked him one question and one question only. I said, tell me about your dairy. Do you like dairy? And he goes, oh my God, I love dairy. I go, well, what kind of dairy? He goes, I'm hooked on cheese. I eat cheese every day of my life. And he went on to share some of the others. And I was like, well, if you were willing to just maybe consider giving up dairy for now and seeing how it impacts your allergies, see if it makes a difference, let me know. Well, he's like, well, I love dairy. It's really important part of my diet, but I think I eat really healthy. And I said, well, therein lies where we sometimes don't understand. Well, I gave him about 3 weeks, and I circled back to him just a few days ago, and I asked him. I said, by the way, I said, how are you feeling? How's that? How are you doing with the dairy? And he said, you're not going to believe it. I said, oh, I'll believe it. What do you got to tell me? He said, I'm feeling a whole lot better. He says, now I'm not perfect. He says, but my level of impact and the quality of my life is way less. I'm feeling so much better. And I said, how are you doing on taking the dairy out? He goes, you know what, Jay? I am strong enough. I'm the kind of person that when I learn something and I understand that it's impacting me and it's hurting me, I have no problem taking it out of my life. He says, whether it be people, places, or things. And I was like, amen, there is a God. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because this is a guy that, I mean, it's just beautiful when we're able to touch someone's life, because we don't know until we know it. And he had no idea that something as simple as just removing something that he was so in love with, but that he was willing to consider giving up if it was going to improve the quality of his life, how we can inspire other people to get well.
Absolutely. So beautiful. And well, that's how my own journey started. Literally, like when I started researching nutrition, the first thing I did was said to myself, I'm going to do an experiment. This is an experiment, right? I'm going to do an experiment, and I'm going to take dairy out of my diet for 3 weeks. At the end of the 3 weeks, I felt so much better. I was like a completely different woman. So then I said, you know what? I feel this much better. Let's go 3 months with no animal product at all and see what happens. And it was a night and day difference. But then, unfortunately, I felt so much better just without those two things. I got caught in that vegan trap, and I wanted to find all the replacements. I wanted the meat replacement. I wanted the dairy replacement. Well, and I think a lot of vegans do this in their transition, not realizing you're eating empty calories. Like you were saying, just like all the stuff that, well, this is supposed to be, it looks like it's healthy from the packaging, right? And the marketing. And so I think, because Oreos are vegan to be technical, so you can switch over to a vegan diet, which is what I did. And I started looking for all these replacements, and I started filling my body with more processed stuff. And so then it took another decline. I had to learn the hard way again to really get my head around like what our body really needs to thrive. And that's whole foods.
What a whole foods.
Really simple, not always easy to implement, because we have a lot of programming and we have a lot of resistance. But whole foods are vegetables, fruits, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. That is what encompasses whole foods. Like when I'm talking to my clients, I tell them stick to the perimeter of the grocery store, and that's where you'll find your whole foods. Stay out of those middle aisles. Those middle aisles will get you.
Beautiful. I love that.
And also
stay out of aisle 11 through 23.
Pretty much.
And or maybe it's aisle 5 probably from aisle 2. If there's 30 aisles, stay in aisle 1 and 30, and you'll be safe.
Yep. Well, too, and you mentioned Trader Joe's, because Trader Joe's was one of my shopping spots as well. But all of their vegetables come in plastic. Everything is already prepackaged in plastic. Those plastics are full of chemicals that are leaching into the vegetables. So one of the things that contributed to my further decline was all the xenoestrogens, which are like chemicals that mimic estrogen in the body. And so my body had an overabundance of estrogen. And so it was causing my body to decline even further. So that's something you have to be really careful with too. I always say those stores are great, and especially if you're on a tight budget. But if you can go somewhere where you can avoid any plastic, that's really going to be the healthiest option if you want to keep your hormones in check.
How important is going organic versus not? Because a lot of people believe that they can't afford to go organic. Why is going organic worth the extra investment? And how much, do you have any sense of how much additional costs it will be percentage wise? It's a two-part question.
Organic is really important. And I think this is what happens with a lot of people who make the transition over to being a vegetarian or vegan, and then their health starts to decline. It's because they're getting conventional fruits and vegetables that are loaded with pesticides, that are hormone disruptors, that are cancer causing, that completely disrupt the body at a cellular level. So people start getting sick and they're going, oh, this didn't work for me. When the truth is what's not working is all the chemicals that they've added to the vegetables. Now, the cost, it is more. I'm not sure the exact percentage, just because I personally don't even look at the conventional stuff, just because I know too much, And so for me, this is an investment. Like, so many people will go out and they'll spend hundreds of dollars a month on a new car. They have all this money allotted for new clothes and all these different expenses. But when it comes to their physical health, it's like at the bottom of the list. And truly, you can either pay for the organic food now, or you can pay for your disease later, because your time is everyone has a tipping point. You might not reach it today. You might not reach it 10 weeks from now. It might be 3 years, but everyone has a tipping point. We all have a threshold for the toxicity that our bodies can handle. So I tell my clients, there are only a couple things that I will actually, and only if there's no organic option will I look at. And that's citrus fruits, because they have such a thick skin. So, just make sure you don't use like any of the actual skin in your water or anything like that. But those are okay to get inorganic. And I'll also get like watermelon, like melons with like really thick skin, if there's no organic option. But anything else, it's a no-go.
What's your perspective on the Nightshades? Because if you're a Dr. Gundry fan, and most people, the majority of people have heard about Dr. Gundry, and his whole pitch is you got to cut out nightshade vegetables. First, if you could share what are the nightshades, some of the nightshades, and what is your perspective? Are you in alignment with Dr. Gundry, or is that not of concern to you?
It's not of concern to me now. Okay. Personally, there are clients that I recommend they go off nightshades, and nightshades include tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. Those are all potatoes, like white potatoes. Those are all nightshades. If I'm working with someone who has inflammation issues, they have achy joints, just not feeling good, one of the first things that I recommend is that they give up the nightshades, because those are oftentimes triggers. And especially if there's any type of autoimmune issue. Like for myself, a big part of my healing journey was healing from Hashimotos. And so I went without nightshades for, like 4 years, 5 years. Wow. So, but what I realized in healing from that was that I had to get the toxins out of my body. So what people don't realize is that toxins are oftentimes at the root of disease. And once you get the toxins out and you flood the body with nutrients, the body can actually heal itself. So that's what I've done. And so now I've been able to reincorporate all the foods that were causing inflammation in my body. But with my autoimmune, I got to the point where I couldn't have nightshades, I couldn't have grains, I couldn't have legumes, I couldn't have soy, corn, gluten or dairy. But of course, I wasn't going to eat the gluten or dairy anymore anyway. But
well, you said you weren't going to eat. You said you weren't going to eat the gluten anymore. Why no gluten? Why do you think taking gluten out of your diet was important?
It's highly inflammatory in the body. Highly inflammatory. It's one of the main reasons or main causes behind leaky gut syndrome. So for anyone that I work with, those are dairy and gluten are two of the first things that I recommend that they go without. Go in, and gluten takes a little bit longer than dairy. You really have to go without gluten for about 3 months to completely get it out of your system. You start feeling better much quicker than that, but that's what I ask of them. Give it 3 months and see where you're at.
Do you see ever introducing gluten back into your diet?
No way.
Okay.
No way. It's just way too toxic. It's been right at this point. It's not even, it's so, it's basically all GMO now. It's been altered to the point of it's far beyond what wheat originally was. So
What about corn?
over 90% of the corn in the US is GMO as well. And it's also inflammatory in the body. So if someone has inflammation issues, I typically say, let's stay off the corn as well and see what happens.
That was one of the last vegetables that I was directed I had to take out. Now, I don't typically eat corn as a vegetable, but one of my snacks, one of the few snacks that were left that I enjoyed from a comfort food perspective was homemade popcorn that I make from kernels, non-GMO corn kernels that I found, organic non-GMO, and I would cook it in coconut oil. My God, it's one of the few. Sometimes I would eat that. That would be my dinner. I'd have my lunch and dinner would be at 3 in the afternoon, and by 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I'd have share a bowl of popcorn with Mary. And about 2.5 months ago, I was told, "You got to take corn out." I said, "What?" I said, "What? Corn? Like popcorn out?" "Yes, Jay, you got to take popcorn out." I go, no, you can't do that. No. Well, if you want to heal that gut that is behind all of the diseases that I was diagnosed with, all started in the gut. 9 diagnoses, and ones that I hadn't even included in those first 9, because I didn't even know that I had celiac disease until 6-7 weeks ago. I had only one symptom, and I wasn't even aware it was a symptom. I thought it was just normal because it was my normal. I had no awareness of symptoms. I tested positive not only for leaky gut, not only for gluten intolerant, but celiac disease.
What was your
Well,
symptom?
I had Lucy stool. That's it. For decades. I was that was my normal. So I thought that was normal. I didn't know. Well, I just gave you, maybe a little bit too TIA, too much information, TMI, but TMI. TIA is when you have a mini stroke. But yeah, it blew me away. There are people that are asymptomatic like I was. I didn't realize. I thought I didn't have symptoms. However, I didn't know that migraines don't start up here. They start down here in the gut. My dad suffered with migraines his whole life. I suffer with migraines. So, of course, the belief system I grew up in is, well, your dad got it. It's genetically, you got what your dad's got. Your dad had a heart attack when he was 44. All right, you had yours at 48. You got your dad's genetics, right? Everything that my dad suffered with, I've tended to follow the path of. Well, what I didn't know is that 90% of disease is not genetic, it's lifestyle. Only 10% scientifically proven. Only 10% is genetic.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like, I don't believe in it being genetic, really. I mean, ultimately, what is passed down are the bad habits.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
so what's that?
No, you were saying that, that your symptom, you thought that was your norm. And that's the thing. Like, so many people don't realize how bad they actually feel. It's hard to get people to comprehend like how much better they can actually feel if they just surrender to what they need to do, but people are.
We don't even have it. We don't have a GPS. We don't even know how to get there because Western medicine doctors, they're not going to run those tests. The majority don't even acknowledge leaky gut as a condition. They dismiss it as woohoo stuff. And it's not woohoo, it's real. And the sad thing is, the beautiful thing is that I didn't know that not only was migraines tied into my damaged gut, I didn't know, Western medicine does not identify high blood pressure as gut related. You read every journal. I read every journal for the last 4 years that I could get my hands wrapped around. I studied hour after hour seeking answers. Why, even on pharmaceuticals, could I not get my blood pressure in normal range consistently, even though I've cleaned up every aspect of my life that they say needs to be cleaned up? It wasn't until I got my last set of tests done outside of traditional care that I found the answer to high blood pressure. As soon as I started on my new protocol, cleaning up my gut and adding, up-leveling my nutrition through gut repair, within 2 weeks, my blood pressure dropped into normal range. Last night, I got home last night from a beautiful evening out, celebrating an early celebration of 1 year engagement anniversary with Mary. I took my blood pressure late last night at 11:30. It was 111/74. It was the lowest it's been since I did my 19-day water fast a year ago. And that was the only time in 20 years that I could get my blood pressure in normal range. Why? Because I wasn't putting any food in my damaged gut. For 19 days, my gut was in ketosis state. It was in repair state. So my blood pressure naturally went down. But there was not one cardiologist in town. There was not one specialist that could tell me why my blood pressure was back up. And the only answer they had for me was, you don't have a choice, Jay. You have to stay on blood pressure pills. That wasn't until I met Dr. Wilson. And he said, come off the blood pressure pills. You don't need them anymore. I'm going to put you on a new protocol to heal your gut. Boom. Less than 2 weeks later, blood pressure, normal range, off the meds for blood pressure. And migraines are gone. I can only imagine all the other healing that's going on within.
So amazing. I'm so happy for you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's get back to, we talked about nightshades. We touched on organic foods. We touched on GMO versus non-GMOs. We talked about processed foods. We talked about killing whatever nutrients are left in the processed foods when we throw it into the microwave. What is your perspective on perspective and or experience if somebody is diagnosed with a major disease, such as cancer? It doesn't matter, stage 1 or stage 4 or 5. What type of nutrition, from your experience of having, now you're speaking as an educated teacher, mentor, you went to school for nutrition, you got educated. This isn't just something that you read about online. How does nutrition impact healing from a chronic, catastrophic diagnosis and prognosis?
Our bodies are divinely created, Jay. Our bodies know what to do, but we just have to provide the right environment. The right environment doesn't come from prescription pills. It doesn't come from toxic chemo sessions. It comes from these beautiful gifts that are here on the planet to nourish us, and those are plants. Plants are medicine. So it's about flooding the body with nutrients so that it can do its job, which is to keep us alive. Sometimes we have to detoxify first because toxins are a huge, huge issue right now. Our environment is, our water, our air, our foods, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So, detoxification is a huge part of that. So it's about what you're taking out and what you're putting in. You're taking out the things that cause the dis-ease to begin with, and you're flooding the body with nutrients. And for me, what I've learned via my education, Health Mastery Institute was such a godsend, because I walked away with protocols to heal almost every chronic condition, which is amazing. And all those protocols include juicing, every single one of them. You know why? Because, like we were saying earlier, our soils are depleted. Our bodies aren't absorbing nutrients the way they're designed to because of leaky gut and all these other issues we have going on. So literally, our foods are so depleted, these plants, that, just having a salad for lunch and a few sauteed vegetables for dinner, it's not enough anymore. It's not enough anymore. We can heal our bodies, but juicing is imperative to flood the body with nutrients. So, if someone came to me with a chronic condition, one of my first suggestions would be, we're going to put you on a juice fast. You're
here.
Okay, I thought I lost you. Sorry.
Nope.
So we're going to put you on a juice fast. We're going to detoxify the body. We're going to put it in self-healing mode, and we're going to flood it with nutrients so that it can heal. And it's amazing what can take place under those conditions. So for someone with a chronic condition, you know, if it were me, if I found out tomorrow that I had cancer, I would be treating it naturally, holistically.
So does that mean red meat and white meat is out? Anything that comes from the blood of an animal?
Absolutely. For the
Why?
healing process, you know, I think not everyone wants to give that up long term. And I think, you know, that's to each his own. I meet people where they're at, but in the healing process, I think it's really important to take it out because you want the body to be as alkaline as possible for it to heal. And meats cause acidity in the body. So, and you know, not only that.
So even if you're buying grass-fed beef out,
Well, and you have to look at it too. You know, so many people don't realize they see on the package, oh, it's grass fed, right? But does it say grass fed and finished? If it doesn't say and finished, that means the last 3 months of its life it was fed GMO corn. Every single time, and most people don't even realize that. So that's one of the big things right there. So you're getting GMOs, possibly some hormones, even though it says grass fed. And then our body has a buffering system to keep itself in balance, you know, because of the acidity. And that buffering system causes us to leach calcium. That's why osteoporosis is so high in this country, you know, because we're such big meat eaters. You know, what I tell my clients, you know, if you're past the healing process and you're like in the maintenance phase for someone who doesn't want to give up meat, what I tell them is make it a side. You know, make the focus of your meal vegetables and have that meat as a side. If you must have it, if you feel like it's really important to you to keep it in. But, you know, vegetables, plants, that's the focus. That's what's going to heal the body, not the meat.
Hashimoto's. You mentioned that you were either diagnosed or you had the symptoms of Hashimoto's. Now, right now in the U.S., the population, somewhere close to 2% of the people in the United States have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. 2%. So 2% of 300 million is around 600. Is that 600,000 people? If my math is right, it's either 60 or 600. It's probably close to 600,000. Let's say there's 320 million people in the U.S. Just a quick calculation times 2%. If my math is right, it's about 640,000 people, or the numbers are staggering. Yeah,
I'm on 4 hours of sleep, so I can't even do the math in my head right now.
doctors believe, Western medicine believes that Hashimoto's is a disease of the thyroid. What is your understanding about Hashimoto's, having gone through it yourself?
It is of the thyroid, but it all starts in the gut. Everything starts in the gut. That's why, you know, you have to remove the foods that are inflammatory, that are keeping you in an inflammatory state. That's really important during the healing process, while you're flooding the body with nutrients, and it can heal. You don't have to live with that. I don't live with that anymore.
It's 6.4 million people, 2% of 320,000. Okay, so I wanted to clarify that. I was doing it in my mind, used the calculator. How Western medicine usually goes after Hashimoto's is that they want to treat the thyroid. They put you on thyroid medicine to treat the symptoms of Hashimoto. Will that ever heal a woman with Hashimoto's disease?
Absolutely not. You're just going to end up like, you know, I've heard this from so many people, like the doctor says, you know, because for me, when I found out that I had it, I refused to go on. I immediately said, I'm not going on any type of prescription for this because I had already read enough about it. And I've heard from enough people that basically the solution is we're going to put you on, you know, this synthetic hormone, and we'll keep you at this level until you need more. And then we'll just continue to up your dosage to keep you feeling good. There's no like, we have a plan to get you off of this. The plan is to keep you on it and dependent on it to where you need more and more and more. So you're a customer for life.
6.4 million people in the US today. are being treated for a disease that, if they're lucky, may stabilize, but with most diseases, it progresses. We get sicker. And what we don't take into account is once they put you on thyroid pills and medicine, there's the side effects that potentially may cause more imbalance in your body, will cause more damage to your stomach, your lining, your gut, which is going to put you at more risk for additional autoimmune disorders, will put you at risk for new diseases that you didn't have before. That's what the loop is. That's the loop of traditional Western medicine that we live in this country. That's why I launched the show. Why? Because I have had the honor and a privilege to meet women like you, Amaraja, who have affirmed, as you did today, that you have self-healed from Hashimoto's. What does that mean for you? What does that mean? Like, you no longer have the symptoms? Do you perceive that? Do you affirm that you are in remission? Is your understanding that you are healed? How would you describe your relationship with a disease that you once said was mine?
Remission isn't in my vocabulary, because for me, it's not like I'm in. What is a good way to put this? It's not like I have altered my lifestyle just for a short period of time. The way that I live my life is forever changed. There's no going back to the way that I was before. You know, I don't have any symptoms. I feel better than I did when I'm 41. I feel better than I did when I was 20. You know, I feel the best I've ever felt in my entire life. You know, I never knew that I could sleep so good. I never knew that I could have so much energy. I never knew that I could actually have, you know, TMI, regular bowel movements. You know, I never knew that I could go a day without being so foggy and fuzzy. You know, I thought I had early dementia because I couldn't think of words. You know, it was crazy, all the things that I was experiencing that are just no longer a part of my reality. And I feel better every single day, because for me, healing, you know, staying healthy, it takes work like everything else, right? It takes an effort. Like, you don't just go to the gym for like a week to get in shape and say that you're done. You don't just eat healthy for a week and say, okay, I feel better, now I'm done. It's a lifestyle, and it's a shift in your mindset, you know? And once you cross that threshold, once you realize how good you can feel and how different life can be, there's just no going back. So, you know, remission, that just doesn't even fit in my world at all. I'm healed. That's how I see myself.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure there's millions of women that would love to be able to have those words escape through their lips. The question is, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do the work that Amaraja, she really touched on the nutritional changes, but you also shared the word lifestyle. Let's spend some time chatting about, I believe that nutritional changes alone were not enough for you to heal from Hashimoto's. What other changes did you have to embrace, open to your healing journey?
Well, one of the main things that I learned, you know, with my education, and I experienced it. It was like, you know, it was a concept, but like in the experience of it, when you embody it, it's a whole other thing. But, you know, the body is a divine mirror it's a divine reflection of everything that's happening in our lives. If your body is toxic, odds are your environment's toxic. There's a good chance the people that you have in your life are toxic. You know, it's not in just one area. You know, we're whole beings. And this is a big emphasis on, you know, the education that I received. But once I started down the path of detoxification, it's something that I really embodied. You know, so once I started clearing out my body, it started creating awareness for me to see other places that I needed to do work. You know, and that meant making shifts in my outer world. It meant digging in to my inner world, you know, to the suppressed trauma, to the suppressed emotions that have become toxic in the body, you know, because really, if you want to get to the root of everything is toxic, suppressed emotions. everything starts on an emotional level.
So there's the mind body connection. As I describe it when I'm coaching my clients, I talk about the body is paying attention to the mind. Now the mind is where the thoughts are coming. The mind really is, we're in continuous loop of thoughts. The average person has 60,000 thoughts in a 24-hour period, of which 90% we repeat the next day and the next day and the next day. And that translation is Groundhog's Day. We keep repeating the same thoughts about ourselves, about our future, about our past, and our body's paying attention. And our body doesn't know when we're in thoughts about the past. Our body doesn't know that it's a past thought. Our body feels it as the present. And when we're in the future and we're in thought about the future, we tend to, a lot of times, go to fear. And so whether we're in the past or we're in the future, we're living in a state of fight or flight. A lot of the time as human beings, that's our biggest challenge, is quieting down our thoughts long enough so that we can allow our body to naturally heal. Well, unless we are practicing some very healthy lifestyle modalities like meditation and yoga and other forms of internal work to help us calm down, our body doesn't know the difference between yesterday, tomorrow, and today. It's responding as though it's in the moment. And eventually those unhealthy thoughts, that discomfort, living in dis-ease, is what triggers disease. That's the mind-body connection that experts like Dr. Joe Dispenza even talk about.
Yeah, my teacher, what she really emphasizes is that we are the center of our own quantum universe. We're the center. So everything that we see around us, we've created. Like she was just talking recently, she was like, so many people think that they're not good manifestors, but that's because they haven't manifested abundance or they haven't manifested a healthy body. But the truth is that they are good manifestors. They're manifesting with their thoughts constantly. We all are. So everything, a lot of people don't want to hear that. It's a touchy subject. People get really upset about that, but it's the truth. We create everything we see around us, including the dis-ease in our bodies.
Yeah, our story creates a perspective, and the perspective becomes our reality. And I don't know about you, but I'm not like a light switch where I can just turn it on and off. Every day I have to show up and implement my own spiritual practices early morning for myself. That's what gives me the balance to work through and walk through some of those thoughts that do bubble up to the surface in my thoughts, and knowing how to help distract myself, to walk away or distract myself from those thoughts long enough so where I can live in more of a state of comfort, ease, stillness, inner peace. But it's not a light switch. It took some learning new skill sets to do. And that's part of the coaching work that I do today with my clients, is to be able to give them the tools to learn how to manage our thoughts in a healthy way. See, because that's where addiction comes in. Addictive behaviors come in. That's ego's way of trying to distract the obsessive thoughts that keep racing through our mind hour after hour, day after day. The distractive behaviors like, let's just get loaded tonight. Let's just have a drink so we don't think about it, so we can distract ourselves. Let's just go do some retail therapy. Let's go shopping. Let's go have that comfort food.
Let's stay on
All those things. Let's go have a cigarette.
Yeah.
All those things that we think is actually helping distract us. Well, it is distracting us, but in a very unhealthy way. It's actually causing us inner harm and damage to our well-being. So the work that you do and the work that I do is to teach people, give them the tools to learn how to manage themselves, because there's not a GPS system that our parents taught us, and we're not taught it in school, nor are we taught it on the playground. That's where we come in. We get to share it with people, how we created the roadmap, the blueprint to healing.
It's work, it's work, but it is the most important work in my life. There's nothing that's more important than showing up for myself every single day.
You know, you refer to it as work, and when most people hear that word, they go, "Oh shit,
Right.
oh man, how am I going to have time to squeeze in more work? I'm already working my butt off. I'm already working, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. I'm raising kids on my own. I got to get them to after class, after school activities. I don't have time to put more work in. Like, is it really work, or is it just commitment to self? Is it just commitment to understand that just like we don't have a problem spending an extra couple of dollars to put in synthetic oil in our car because we're told that it's going to put our engine at peak performance, or maybe our engine will last longer if we get it a higher quality of oil. Yet we're not willing to spend the extra money to get the synthetic fuel for our own body. The most important thing in our life is our body.
Yep. And the
So is
body
it really work, or is it just commitment?
it's commitment, I think it's both. I think it's both. But when I hear someone say that, the first thing I think is this person is stuck. They have stories, right? Because at the end of the day, we all have the same amount of time, but it's about our priorities. And it's about, really, you say your health is important. You say that leveling up in your life is important, but you're not making it a priority. You're finding excuses. So really, how important is it? I just think it's about bringing that awareness to someone. You say this is important, but you're finding excuses to not do it. I'm a busy mom. I work, I have kids, our plates are all overflowing, but it's about what's important, and for me, it's about doing this not only for myself, but for my kids. So I guess it's really not work. This is about thriving. It's about, do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? You get a choice.
Boom. Boom. You got it right there, girl.
Yep.
There you go. There's the antidote. There's the motivation. There's the catalyst. Do you want to survive, or do you want to learn how to thrive? There is not a greater catalyst, but for some of us, we have to hit a bottom that's so low that we're near death to go, Uncle, I give up. I'm ready. Please, please, Lord, save me. And, some of us believe that, well, we're just not praying hard enough. If we pray harder, we'll get our needs met. And therein lies another limited belief system, I believe, in that praying harder is not going to bring us to a state of thriving. We have to show up for ourselves first, just like we're instructed when we get on into the airplane and we're told if the plane is going down, first thing we got to do is put that oxygen mask on ourselves before we can help another person, including our young loved ones, right? When are we going to be ready to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first and invest in that synthetic, pure, liquid gold fuel to heal? It comes down to one thing and one thing only. You got to be willing to ask yourself, what is my why? What is the why? Why do you want to do it?
Absolutely.
Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it because you're sick? Are you doing it because you have a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old? And if you don't clean up and make these changes, you may leave your child in an orphanage, because if you don't have a husband in your life or a significant other, and they're not available and they're not part of, who are your children going to be left to if you get taken out? Kate Malvinen, who's been a guest on this show 3 times, she's got a 3-year-old daughter, Annabelle. She was diagnosed with stage 4 metastasized cancer that had spread throughout her body. This is a year ago, October, right now. She got that diagnosis and she had 6 months to live. Get your house in order and figure out who's going to raise your daughter. That was enough for her to wake up. Kate Malvinen is back at Hope for Cancer today as we speak. She landed, I think she got there Monday, coming in from Australia. Kate and I chatted this morning, and Kate's going to come back into this studio. She's going to be right where you're sitting shortly when she's ready to affirm NED. NED in the world of cancer is no evidence of disease. I asked her when, if she'd like to come in while she's back for a fourth stay at Hope for Cancer. And I knew what her answer was going to be, but I put it out there anyway. And I loved her answer. She said, I'll be ready to come in when I'm ready to say NED. And I said, perfect. I'll see you soon. For her, that's what it took. She had to get that sick to wake up. Let's not all wait to get that sick to experience. Now, Kate's life has changed tremendously. I mean, she had to change everything in her life. But I don't believe she's ever going to go back to how she lived. Because what this experience has done is it's opened her heart and it's opened her mind to a new way of living. It's no longer surviving, it's about thriving, as you so eloquently stated. So with what little time we have, because believe it or not, we are at the hour, Amaraja, it's hard to imagine that we just took up an hour of time here deep in this amazing conversation. I've enjoyed having you on the show. I'd like you to maybe close us out with some closing thoughts on if there were 4 or 5 things that you could share with a woman or man that has been diagnosed with chronic disease. They're in pain, emotional, mental, perhaps even physical pain. What would you suggest are the first 4 or 5 steps they take to begin their healing journey and come home to full wellness?
First and foremost, take the inflammatory foods off your plate. Take the inflammatory foods off your plate. You know, like we said, the dairy, the gluten, the soy, the corn, you know, possibly the nightshades. Just go ahead and eliminate those to begin with. Then find someone who is specialized in detoxification. You know, detox is such a buzzword and you see it all over the internet now, but the truth is that it's not, a lot of people are doing it wrong. There's so much more to it than just jumping into a detox. You need to make sure your detox pathways are open. You need to make sure you're supporting your liver and actually getting the toxins out of your body. So many people are not doing this, and toxins are recirculating and they're just making themselves sicker. I see this all the time. It's so hard for me to bite my tongue all over social media, but I do. So find someone who's educated, who really knows how the body works, the science of the body and nutrition, and work with them on a detoxification protocol. You really want to look at candida. You want to look at parasites. You want to look at heavy metals. Those are the 3 main things that underlie most chronic disease. So you really want to get those out of the body. And then you really want to start flooding the body with nutrients. You've got to nourish your body. You got to put in that extra step, because just having, like I said, a salad for lunch, a few sauteed vegetables for dinner, it's not enough. It's not enough. The body needs to be flooded with nutrients. And you need to look into targeted supplementation. You know, I never recommend a multivitamin because, number one, you know, our bodies, like if you're eating healthy and eating a plant-based diet, it's overkill on a lot of the nutrients. What you really need is more targeted. You need to go in with a targeted approach. And there's, you know, a few things. Like I always recommend, first and foremost, someone include a magnesium supplement. You know, it is the master supplement. It's like it is responsible for like over 300 processes in the body. So just adding in magnesium can change things for so many people. You know, B12 is a big one. You know, so many people are like, oh, you know, B12 deficiency is, you know, that's more for vegans. That's not the case. Actually, B12 is created within our gut, but so many people have lost the intrinsic ability to make B12 that 80% of the population, their body is depleted of B12 and they can't produce it. So look at B12 supplementation. Look at magnesium, vitamin C. It's so important. It's a major antioxidant for the body. It's involved in so many processes. Those 3 alone, and you know, and if you have hormonal issues, a B supplement can be a game changer. So, you know, look at a B complex, sorry. And then a multi-mineral is huge. A multi-mineral is huge. 99% of the population is mineral deficient. 99% of the population. So without these chunk of nutrients, the body is set up for dis-ease. So get the toxins out and start putting the nutrients back in via your food, via supplementation. And then that's how you really start to heal the body. That's what I would suggest.
Beautiful. What's your perspective on those that say, well, if you have diabetes, um, you have to cut out all the sugars, including the sugars in fruit. Is there a difference between sugar from fruit and white sugar that you bite into when you have that delicious brownie or cupcake?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like the truth is that type 2 diabetes can be healed on a high raw, low fat, plant based diet. Fat is the key here. Fat is the trigger for type 2 diabetes. So, no, I'm not going to recommend that you go out and have cane sugar. I don't recommend anybody go out and have processed sugars. But fructose, we are, we're carb burning machines. That's what our body runs off of. Fructose is one of the main fuels for our body. We need it to heal. The only time I don't recommend fructose in the diet is when you're trying to heal your body from candida, because candida feeds off of that. But otherwise, type 2 diabetes, absolutely, you need fruit in your diet.
If you're battling cancer, are there any fruits that you are aware of that you should avoid because it is high in glucose sugar?
No, not that I'm aware of. But I haven't done a lot of extensive research into healing cancer. There are protocols that are available through my school that I can dive into, but it basically goes down to fasting and fruit juices included, a juice fast with coffee enemas. That is going to be the meat of healing from cancer. And even the Gerson method, that's the meat of their healing protocol as well.
Like at least minimum once a day on a coffee enemas.
Actually,
they treating cancer is what I've been told. At least that's what Chris Wark, who Chris Beat Cancer, he talks about enemas. Of course, all my guests that have come in through Hope for Cancer, they're on that protocol. Even when they're in remission, I believe a lot of them stick with that.
Yeah, actually, the Gerson methods, those people do like 6 coffee enemas a day. I personally, coffee enemas have been a huge part of my healing journey. I've been doing coffee enemas daily for over a year now. They are amazing for the body. Like I had liver damage. My liver and my kidneys weren't functioning properly. Coffee enemas stimulate glutathione production and bile production. So it's especially helpful for people who don't have a pancreas, who've had it removed. And for people who have damage to their liver, I was a big drinker, I partied, I did a lot of damage. And so my liver needed the help. And so for the protocols that I recommend, it is a really big part of it, because our body, if our liver is not working properly, is just recirculating toxins. And so you're just making yourself sicker. So it's so important if you're doing a really deep detoxification protocol to include those.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate all of your knowledge that you brought forward in the show today. If people want to follow you on social media, what's the best place, the best way to get hold of you? How can they follow Amaraja?
You can go to my personal page, which is Amaraja Bre, or you can go to my business page, which is Highest Path Nutrition.
Highest Path Nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
You put out some amazing blogs almost daily, sometimes multiple times in a day. Beautiful art, beautiful photos of food, and boy, you make it look just incredibly delicious. And the truth is that my experience, it has been a beautiful ride. When I go out to eat in a restaurant today, I'm typically very disappointed, because what happened to me is, once the world of plant-based nutrition was introduced into my life, what we also learned how to do was to cook with herbs and spices that traditional restaurants don't cook with. So herbs like rosemary and sage and thyme and oregano and parsley, and unless you go out to Mexican, you may get cilantro. That's about it. But other than that, those are herbs that just for me, they just explode on in the presentation. They just bring so much burst of flavor and energy and love into the meal that I didn't get from the sad diet I was on, a standard American diet. I just got a lot of salt, iodine salt, and maybe, would you like some pepper on that steak? Sure, give me some pepper. That was about it. Oh, maybe a sprinkle of garlic. But I didn't neglected to say garlic is one of those herbs. I think Mary cooks with 4 or 5 cloves in every meal. But it just gets better when we're open and willing to throw down and release all those BS belief systems that we have created, those stories about how difficult it may be to change our nutrition and embrace the idea of truly going to the medicine, the natural medicine that the universe has provided to us for billions of years. That's all we need, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm gonna ask you just one more question, and then we're gonna end this show. You mentioned before we went live, you brought up spirituality. I'd like you just to touch very briefly on what spirituality means to you and how it's impacted your own healing journey from your Hashimotos and the other diseases that were impacting your life.
Spirituality for me is about really, this is probably going to be way different than what most people, how most people see spirituality. But for me, it's been about coming back to my body. It's been about embodying this body, because I was so disconnected from my body for so long. We were given these divine avatars to experience this life, and I neglected this body for so long. And so for me, the spiritual aspect has been coming back in and getting connected with myself. I was so disconnected, because, a lot of people pray to the universe. Well, who are you praying to when you pray to the universe? We're praying, we are the universe. It's all within us, right? So if you don't trust the universe, you don't trust yourself. So for me, it's about a homecoming. It's been about a homecoming. Body, mind, and spirit.
I love what you just shared. I actually talked about that this morning. I was doing a 2-hour coaching session as we were hiking the trails of North Scottsdale in the heat this morning. And my client that I was working with today, I just touched on what you just shared. And it's so powerful that when we understand that the process that you just described, if I may paraphrase you, is truly, it's coming home. It's the process of coming home to yourself at the heart space, or what some in the spiritual community refer to as the soul space. Because at some point in our early years, we detached because we were impacted by pain, wounds, traumas, moments, experiences, and we detached from ourself, and ego took over our life. And that's what some refer to as our personality. It's my personality. That's ego. That's all ego space. Ego space, ego took control, and ego's role was to protect. And it did a really good job because we learned how to survive. But at some point, I ran out of time, as did you, Amaraj. And it was no longer about surviving. It was surviving and dying. And that's what we were both slowly doing. And so I want to just take a moment to thank you for sharing that piece of your puzzle, the piece of the puzzle to healing, to solving this mystery of how to get well. And I want to go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just feel like, on this journey, so many people separate out the pieces. You can't, we're whole beings. You can't separate it out. You can't just focus on, I'm going to spend, the rest of my years meditating and then I'm spiritual, because if you're neglecting your body, you're neglecting a big piece of the puzzle. So, and you can't just be completely focused on the body and then neglect the spirit, it's one is a reflection of the other in my world. That's what I've come to realize. So you have to give all the pieces love.
All four pillars.
Yeah.
All four: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. That's the work that I opened my own self to, and that's created this incredible journey, this incredible life that I'm getting to live today, that I'm getting to experience, and as are you, Amaraja. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to ask you to stay in the studio just for a few moments. I want to thank all of you that joined us on this live today. If you're coming in live, thank you for being here, for being part of this show, for supporting the work that Amaraja is doing, the work that I continue to do each day, that we are gifted one more day to show up, be healthy, to have the energy, to have the courage to show up, and to continue to make the changes, to up-level our own healing. And I can only ask one thing of you, if you're watching us live or on replay, is take some time for yourself today. Do some self-care. Put down that to-do list. Begin your own healing journey. Have the courage to change. Have the courage to open up your mind, body, and soul to the healing process and journey. It is not work. It is the greatest gift you could give to yourself. It's how God intended you to live your life. And it's time for you to have that empowerment to take back your life. And with that, thank you for joining us on Real People, Real Health. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much, Amaraja. I love you, girl.
Thank you, Jay. Love you too.
Thank you.